Pencil Power. Why, hello there, art adventurers. In this episode video, we're going to be drawing a Tauren. I've been on a little bit of a quest, a journey to improve my art to be in the style for Hearthstone, and I've created a Instagram account to chronicle that journey. It's totem_shaman. So I'll leave a link in the description. But yeah, Tauren are really fun to draw. I'll go through this quickly because it's a long one. And they're a great way to like practice anatomy with a form that's kind of human, but like different enough that when you're drawing humans, you notice like every tiny imperfection because we're so used to seeing humans. But when you draw a fantasy creature, you can kind of still learn the anatomy because they have the same muscles, but it's different enough that you'll be able to, your mistakes will be easily forgiven or ignored or missed. Um, and so it takes a little bit of the pressure off. So yeah, and I just think they also have a structure that lends itself to drawing other anthropomorphized creatures. So we'll do both the face and the body, and so from 3/4, front and side view. So let's get started. What do we want to start with? I think maybe it'll be more fun to start with the faces. So the face, let's go with side view to begin with. You can start with a circle and then creating this kind of tapering shape where the bottom is almost flat and the top is tapering down a bit, and then the nose leans back a little bit, that line there. And the thing is with Tauren, you could have like a short snout or a long snout. There's a lot of variation. So I'll do both of these so you can see two different ways it might turn out. And then the next thing I like to do is add the nose. So kind of creating a triangle there, and you can see it looks like almost like a polar bear or something. And then having it just stick out a little bit and putting this upside down U shape that'll kind of give you a basic snout. But again, there's a lot of variety here in the way you can do it. So you can look at pictures of bovine creatures or whatever kind of creature you want their nose to look like and draw inspiration there. So the mouths are pretty low, so maybe a quarter of the way up from the bottom. And the way I like to do it is think about a zigzag shape. And so you can mess around with the zigzag and see what works. Now this guy kind of looks happy if you do it that way. But I think having like a bump up here and then a bump where the bottom lip, which comes out further from the shape that we've defined. So here, I would start like have the bottom lip come out further, and then this goes down, up, and then down a little bit at the end. Give them some nice teeth, if you so please. Little round ones, I think, usually, more than sharp ones. Like that. Cool. Then the next thing I like to do is add in the eyes. So looking at this circle coming in a little bit around that area, you can create a shallow C shape and a kind of a V shape pointing to the back of the head. And that will give you placement for the eyes. They have these like protruding brows usually. So you can place the eyes too by creating this brow. And if you want, like we'll make this one more angry. So then the brow comes down like that. And this one's more happy. So the brow's coming up here as you can see. And then from there, the only basic things is to add the ears. Should be a kind of triangle shape like that. Off in the middle and the back. Here we can do the same thing. And then the horns will be coming out somewhere. Sometimes they could even be coming forward, I think. Yeah, I actually haven't figured out the horns coming forward from side view yet. I guess they'd be turning into the skull, so they'd be coming out like that, coming out to the side and then coming forward. but I'll have to study horns and figure that out myself. And then the neck actually is going to come back, see, almost following the angle of the nose here, and then come more sharply down from behind. And when we do the full body, you'll see that, in more detail. And the shoulders, interestingly, are almost around the height of the head, and like even bigger than the head, even so. So we'll get to that when we get to the body. So then let's do front view, understand it from there, and then we'll go into 3/4. And I also think that drawing Tauren is a really great way to start practicing different shapes, and playing with like boxes and circles to create three-dimensional forms. So from the front, I usually like to start off with the nose, which might be that shape. You could do different shapes, but that's my go-to. Longer on the top, shorter on the bottom, and kind of rounded corners. And then these two U shapes to define the nostrils. But let me go in and do the structure before getting into details like that. So we're kind of looking at a box going back in space like that. I don't know why I drew that so crudely, but if you have a box and it's like 1 point perspective, you're looking straight at it, and it's kind of tapering back into space, but it's rounded. So all the parts are rounded like that, and that'll give you the snout. And then here, see, one of the biggest things for me was playing around with this shape. So this is again the brows. So if you do it like this, then the Tauren will be mostly like in a good mood with positive spirits. But if you were to do the same thing and have these down like that, then you got like a fierce, angry looking Tauren, right? So that's a fun shape to play with, and you'll see it come up in other face drawing. You can kind of like remember that as a way to draw a more humanoid face, is to have the brows thought of as this shape, like that's the forehead brows shape. And then that allows you to put the eyes in there. You can start building out like a more humanoid form shape. Cool. So getting back to our Tauren friend here, let's see, the next thing I often like to do is the cheekbones. So defining those. And here you could, if you wanted to put the cheekbones, it might be something like that. But don't always define them there. Like again, that's each Tauren's gonna look different. And then here, remember we had this zigzag where we're saying the lips are coming up in the front for the lips here. So here we've got the same where it's like, well, I'll do it as a zigzag, but usually I'll round it out in the front like that. And then it's gonna wrap around, so it'll go something like that. But we'll make the bottom part a little more rounded and give it, that's the bottom lip, so give it some shape there. And then kind of just comes up there. So 1, 2, 3. You can add some teeth if you want. And there might be a little more, you can play around with that, but that's the basic idea. And then you have the bottom lip here like that, and just add a little U for the chin. You can add some nice little hairs if you like there. And then here we have the same kind of shape for the ears. This triangle, but maybe this part of the triangle is a little more on that side, so that kind of a triangle. And the forehead, something like that. And then you can even just start putting hairs in like this to get an idea, but there's going to be that, the neck's kind of going above. And then again, we've got the shoulders are around head level, and they're quite profound in size. Because Tauren be swole. And that's something you just got to respect with our artwork. Okay. Well, that's not looking quite right, but yeah, I guess it is for the most part. Maybe I would play with the shapes and stuff more. But that's the idea. from front view. All right, now for the fun stuff. Let's get into the 3/4 view. So can I leave these guys up? Because it might be good to refer back. So let's make a little space here in the middle. And we're going to start off with a circle again. And if you do the whole thing with the lines, you can like point the head in that direction. But I actually find the easier to point the head by placing the end of the nose. So now you already know that he's looking this way, right? If I was to put it more here, and he'd be turning, you can already tell he's turning slightly this way. And then putting it in the middle, of course, would be looking straight at you. So this is kind of doing that sort of aiming the head, but with more of this 3D form that really forces you to know which direction the head is facing, which is why I just thought it was a good. And then even like you can start to play around with more difficult perspective. So here's one looking up, right? So I haven't really played around with that too much. That's maybe my first time trying that, and then looking down too. That's kind of epic. You can be like looking up at you. So yeah, but you can play around with that to work on your 3D form. Something that's helped me while studying these creatures. So you put the nose, same shape as before, and kind of remember that there's going to be, the middle is actually slightly more this way on this side, and there's like this rounded shape to it. So I like to put that line in the middle and then draw in these U shapes to help me get a little better perspective there. Then these are going to come back, and one thing that I like to do is actually have it curve in, so it's not a perfect box. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing there. I guess I can exaggerate it a little bit to show you what. So if I was to make a square, and then this was almost like a triangle, it becomes like that. That's the exaggerated version. So this kind of curves up a little bit. I feel like that works. But again, like each Tauren's going to be different, so it's fun to take the basic exact square shape, which would be something like that coming off the circle, and like play with it a little bit and see like, what if I make the top rounder? What if I make this rounder? You know, to play with those shapes. Okay, so then we've got the U-shaped bottom lip, right? And again, we're going to try to remember that this is the center. Can give him some teeth as this wraps around the other side. And then here, zigzagging it, maybe like that. And then for the eyes, the same thing. We're going to find this shape and then decide this guy looks like he's more happy. So we'll make it this kind of shape at the bottom instead of flat. And for the eyes, the eyes are a whole thing, and I've made some videos about that you can check out. But like that looks good, but a little droopy eyed. But I found that what I like to do is this kind of eye these days. So the bottom is shallow and the top is more rounded. And this is like a good kind of standard shape for an eye that's not like, not evil, what is it, villainous, like angry kind of look. Okay, and then you can see a little bit of the cheekbone on this side, right? Maybe a little bit there. Another U for the chin under here. And so the eyes, getting the eye placement can be a big thing. So I feel like the eyes are a little bit maybe far apart. So maybe I'll do it like that. That feels a little better to me. And then the forehead, you could do it in different ways, but it's going to tilt backwards. And you're going to get the mane coming in. You could have like some braids maybe. The ears, again, same pretty much shape. And then, oh, I forgot to put horns on this fellow, poor guy. I don't think that would sit well in the Tauren community. And this guy, he can have antlers too. I like the antler Tauren. Give him a nice braid. You can put a nose ring in, and give him a scar. Now he's starting to get some character. And then from 3/4 view, let's just look at them. We'll look at the form of this is a perfect transition into the body. So, but just to finish the 3/4 view, it's gonna have like so like this, like that, doing the U, and then the head, this is gonna go further back and then come sharper down on the end on the other side. I don't know. This is a very strange, yeah, very humble elk, I guess. And then it's a little flatter on the bottom, and then we'll get into the placement of the rest of the body just now. Cool. So let's start with a fresh layer. So looking at the Tauren anatomy, gonna use like similar, I've done a few structure of the bodies and structure of fantasy characters. So I'm gonna kind of similar, that's my style for doing the structure of the body. I find that works for me. So I'll kind of use that same philosophy. So the rib cage is a great place to start, I think. I'm trying to decide if front or side or 3/4 view would be best right now. I'm thinking actually 3/4. Let's start with the tricky one and we can come back to it. What I think to get an idea. So this is the like of the way things are curving. It's more important because you can't see that from the front. So we've got like the rib cage, right? And there's going to be two very big shoulders. And from the top, this is the trickiest part to get the head, because the head's going to be sitting forward, right? So there's like some kind of shape like this coming out. And so what I think is easiest is to place the head, and you might have to move it if you're working digitally or, try a couple sketches. So get the head where you want it, and then have the neck come up and align with the back of the rib cage. So roughly that should be good. And we won't forget his horns. Cool. Actually, we'll have this horn cut off so that we can see that better, see the anatomy better. Then from here, just bringing down just a little bit past the rib cage and drawing this kind of shape to get the pelvis area. And the legs are interesting. So the legs are the most different part of the anatomy, and they go something like this. Right? They're more like the back leg of a four-legged creature, right? But it's a little more subtle with the Tauren. So actually, instead of maybe like that, this part in the middle is shorter. It tends to be. And again, there's artistic liberties, but I think that's the easiest way to get it staying like still looking humanoid. So they can actually just put the thighs coming down normally. So from here, it still looks like there's going to just be normal legs. And then from here, come back a little ways. And then down. And the hooves actually sit forward. So about halfway down, and it can actually kind of connect like that. But the hooves, oops, so this goes back, and then here, down like that. And these upside down kind of U shapes for the hooves. So this guy's standing with his legs quite close together, but that's fine. We'll come back and do another 3/4 at the end, or maybe one or two. The arms, so I'll have him holding his arms back so you can see more clearly. The biceps are pretty short, and then the forearms are big. Right, and then the wrists are quite thick. And they've got 3 fingers, so it's actually kind of fun. Also, a good way to practice hands is to do them via Tauren hands, because you've got only 3 chunky fingers to work with, but they're still going to have the same anatomy. So sometimes drawing all the little, when you draw a hand and then each finger has like all its little bends and everything like that, right? And there's all, So now with Tauren, it's the same thing, but the fingers are chunky like that. So you can really like practice drawing fingers and hands without the little delicacy of a tiny hand. And again, since it's also what's like fantastical creature anatomy, it's a little more forgiving when you make mistakes, I think. All right, cool. So we've done our 3/4. I think you'll understand. I'm still trying to figure out like the curve of the back, and then they've got a tail that comes down, um, and how far forward they lean and all that stuff. But that will come in time. I'm doing this actually. I've started a new art regiment program. I have it outlined in this book I wrote that's sitting in my Google Docs called Motivation to Mastery, but I've also made a video about it on Pen and Blade. I'll make a new video about like how to make your own art curriculum, uh, kind of covering this method and any changes I've made, but you can look that up on Pen and Blade if you want. But yeah, so each video I have to each like section that I study, I create a video teaching what I've learned, and so that's why I've started this whole thing where I want to draw each of the Blizzard characters in races that they haven't been able to play. Like Tauren can't play as demon hunters, so I made a Tauren demon hunter to see what that might look like, and Panderans couldn't be Death Knights, so that was why the second one. So yeah, why did I get on this tangent? I don't know, but let's get back to drawing Taurens. And so yeah, I'll be making one about how to draw Pandaran, how to draw probably all the different races in World of Warcraft, as well as other things that I'm studying, like values paintings, like black and white value paintings, and dynamic figure drawing. That's another one of things that I'm going to be working on. So videos coming up about all of that. All right, so let's get back to drawing the Tauren. Let's do side view, and then we'll end with a nice front view. So we've got the rib cage, which is kind of leaning back like that. And then 2 lines coming down, and this U shape a little more in the back for the gluteus muscle. And again, the legs just come straight down to start with, right? But then they have that little notch going back. And then it kind of comes forward again a little bit, maybe getting wider at the bottom. And then they've got the big hooves. And I think I made, the thighs a little long and the other part a little bit short. But again, this is like fantastical, so you can't really know, what is actually 100% correct. So this is good enough. The arms, are going to big shoulders again, and then the head comes up a little bit. You can put a circle and do the side view head that we talked about, and that's basically it. That's the construction. The arms is going to be the same. From here, it's just about getting your, deciding what class you want your Tauren to be, decking them out with cool gear, and having a fun time drawing these guys. So let's go ahead and draw one from 3/4 view and do a little more like of an in-depth. Oh, we didn't do front view. Sorry. We'll go to that in a minute. So we'll do the front view quickly. You got the nose and the head. I think that's kind of easier place to start often. Maybe just you can make an egg shape like that, or go in step by step. Let's actually use the same steps, because that's probably a good habit to develop, or to kind of have the same understanding from every angle. So here we've got this shape representing the neck. The shoulders will be around head length. Let's give this guy some horns, this guy too. And pelvis kind of coming like that. Same as from the, did we already do the front view? From the 3/4 view pretty much. And then this is a little bit tricky. So you have the legs, right? And I found that the direction the feet are pointing, the opposite direction you'll want to go with this bend. So you see that, and then coming in like that and creating the feet. And the hooves, if you put the little, so to make the hoof parts, you can just make a V and then cut in, cut in like that. And you erase out this part. And you've got nice cloven hooves like that. Okay. And so this is like a, if you're drawing a Tauren leg, maybe something like that. The hooves I think would actually be way bigger than I've been making them. They have pretty hefty hooves. I think we should actually be respectful of Tauren hooves. It's a point of pride. A lot of their names have hooves in it. So yeah, and then so if his legs were pointing in, for example, then so he's like kind of doing cross-legged, or like legs are pointing in, then this would go the opposite direction. So actually like maybe like that, but not necessarily like, but yeah, basically to the outside, and then this would be pointing inwards. It's a little hard to explain, but I think it's just something to be aware of when you're doing the front view. Usually I think they'll be pointing slightly outward as opposed to inward. Then this guy's doing like a cool dance. Okay. How about, let's see, can we get his head looking this way? I don't know, does that look right? Shoulders bigger. Yeah, kind of. So let's go back here. So we've got a shorter biceps and then bigger, longer forearms, wide wrists, 3 fingers. And that's it. You're well on your way to drawing your Taurens. So let me have fun and draw a nice little 3/4 Tauren to recap everything. And then we're good to go. All right. So I'll keep it simple. I won't try to do any crazy poses or anything, though I might make a follow-up video of how to pose your Tauren. And I'll just kind of focus more on the drawing aspect, because when I'm trying to explain what I'm doing, I'm a little less focused on actually like engaging in the drawing and like really thinking about what I'm doing and the balance and stuff like that. So like this, even talking now, I'm like, okay, wait, how do Tauren feet look again? Why does this isn't looking right to me? I think one of the things is the big hooves, baby. Anyways, I'm not going to go into too much trouble. We're going to keep it fantastical. I'm going to do my cloven hoof like that, kind of finding the middle of those forms, putting them in like that. Oh, and I forgot the tail on the last one. So from side view, one thing I think I noticed about the tail is, okay, I'll just do it on this layer real quick. So the tail kind of comes out and then droops down. It's like a pretty sturdy like lion's tail. So it's thick at the base. So it's kind of like the main thing I've noticed about the tail. Oops. Okay. So now, we can have an inkling of that. I actually think I forgot about the tail on my Tauren, but that's okay. I don't think anyone would notice. Or it's hidden behind his body, right? Maybe I'll add that at some point. So now I want to decide where my head is going to be. So it's going to be under or around, the top of that will be under or around the height of the rib cage, I think. And then I'm going to put my nose to place it. And I'll zoom in and do a little more work on the head in a bit, so we can review that as well. Shoulders as big or bigger than the head. And then the arms, just kind of quickly put them in like that. Maybe this guy is holding a spear, right? Or a staff. Let's have a crazy cool staff. Things hanging off, right? Cool. And in this hand, I don't know, he's got something. He's sprinkling some dust, some magic dust, like at the beginning of the World of Warcraft trailer. Okay, and then we're going to need to give him some horns. And the ears are underneath the horns. zoom in and give him some character to this face. This lovely face of his. Actually, I'll erase that because it wasn't necessarily placed very accurately. So we'll start off, we've got the circle, we'll make the nose, and it comes back, and where it meets the circle, I'm going to keep things rounded like that, round, slight tapering right there. We've got the zigzag for the mouth, and this shape over here for the eyes. Go and check out the variety of different Tauren faces, because this is kind of drawn the same style Tauren. Another thing is kind of give him a square jaw there. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I've been drawing kind of the same basic style of Tauren, and there's like just so much variety. I really like the short snouted ones, but I'm not quite as good as drawing them. So that's what I've been practicing more with the Pandaran. So the Pandaran one is basically a similar structure, but they're more short snouted. And then that's it. We've got our Tauren. Now we could outfit him up. I think at some point after I go through these current modules that I'm doing, I will start to study like armor and clothing and weaponry and how to make cool stylized like costumes and what's it called, equipment and all that. All right, but that's it. This is good. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I actually really kind of like this Tauren we've created, so maybe I'll end up making him into a more finished painting, and then I'll post it on the Totem Shaman Instagram that I mentioned. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys that this imbued you. As I say, it's been a little while since I been making videos for Pencil Power, but I appreciate all the comments and everything. And since it seems to be helpful, these videos seem to be helpful, I want to make more. And God willing, imbue you with just a bit more pencil power. I guess that'll do.